Today on Stu's cookery class, I'm going to be showing you guys how to break down a chicken. Now all you'll need is a sharp knife, whatever you're comfortable with, it doesn't really matter what size. The first thing we're going to do is trim up the wingtips. Now you'll notice that when I bend it, you can see exactly where the joint is. So you want to cut right on the joint through the cartilage, and it shouldn't take much force at all. Once we've done that, we're going to trim off the excess flesh at the neck end. You might find this has already been done for you, so you might not need to worry about it. I'm now going to take the optional step to remove the wishbone. Now the easiest way to tell where this is just have a feel. You're then going to need to make an incision on either side and then use your fingers to just prise apart the wishbone from the flesh. You might find that the wishbone breaks, and that's fine, that happens all the time. You just need to make sure you have a good check around that there aren't any pieces of bone left in there. Once that's done, there's two options next. You can either remove the wing completely from the breast now by making a cut towards the bone on the side, and then just using the tip of the knife to work your way around the ball joint. The other option is to remove the breast completely and then take the wing off then. Now it's actually easier to remove the legs first, but it doesn't make too much difference to me. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting straight down the centre, just to the side of the backbone. We're then going to face the knife ever so slightly towards the carcass and not the flesh, so that we remove all of the meat. And as we work our way down, you'll notice I haven't actually cut the skin yet, and it's easier to just keep working your way down until it starts to get in the way. I'm then just going to cut the skin so that the leg and the breast are separated. And we're then going to keep working our way to the joint between the wing and the carcass. I'm just going to keep making lots of little cuts to slowly separate it and not lose any of the meat. Once you can see between the two bones, you can just cut straight between them and it should come off really nice and cleanly. It's always worth checking to see if there's any bits of bone or cartilage that you've just sort of shaved through, and to remove those. You can see there that I've got two really nice whole pieces of bone at the end, so I know there's no flakes of bone hanging around. Now you can either remove the whole thing or leave it as a supreme and just trim off part of the wing. Again, you can wiggle the joint to see where that middle point is. Now to remove the leg, I'm just going to cut towards the bone there, and I'm not cutting through the meat of the leg, I'm just sort of cutting through the flesh next to the carcass. And then the leg should just pop out. Now you'll notice I've just shaved the end of the joint off there, but you don't need to cut through the bone. At this point I'm just going to remove the ankle joint. Again, wiggling it to see where the centre is and just cutting through the cartilage. This one will take some force to press through. Now if you're removing the legs first, the easier option, you just want to cut through the skin and none of the flesh between the breast and the leg. We're then going to pull the knife right down towards the carcass because you don't want to lose any of the meat that's down there. Once you've hit the bone at the bottom there, you'll hear it, and then you can work your way on the other side. You'll notice that now the leg's almost completely removed, and the only thing that's holding it on is the joint. And you can actually see that joint there, see the bones sort of starting to pop out. Now if you just press a firm hand on the chicken and twist, it'll pop out really nice and cleanly, and you can just cut in that gap to separate them. If you do find you've got some excess skin on there, that can just be trimmed off. And again, we're going to remove the ankle. All these bits that I'm trimming off I'm saving, and I'm going to make a stock with later. and I'll show you removing the other breast, just so you've got a second point of reference. Once this is done, you'll have all the meat removed from the bone, and I'm just going to do a few extra things to get some extra portions of meat out of what I've got. I'm now going to remove the fillet from the breast, just by lifting up that flap of meat underneath and gently pressing against the seam with a knife. It should come off really nice and easily. I'm also going to trim some meat off this because it's a really good size and I want to get as many portions out of it as I can. With the leg, you can either leave this as a whole piece or cut it down further, as I'm going to be making some deep fried chicken. You'll notice there's a white line that goes along the joint seam, so we're going to press our knife against that and just gently cut through, and this takes almost no force at all. I'm also going to show you the optional step of removing the bone from the thigh. So we're going to make an incision down one side of the bone, and we're going to cut that down until we're at the very bottom of the bone. We're then going to cut across the top where the meat is, and then down the other side. Once that's done, I'm just going to make sure that I've cut all the way along to the end, and I'm then going to very carefully press the knife underneath the bone and poke it out the other side, like so. And you want to make sure your fingers are well out of the way for this. You're then going to gently cut away from yourself and release the bone on one side from the meat. Once that's done, you want to scrape down the meat off the bone until you can see the end of the bone, the sort of joint. Once you've got to that point and you can see the very end of the bone, you can trim off the sort of cartilage and sinewy section at the end there. And you've got one boneless chicken thigh. And that's it. It's really nice, simple and easy. And I've got 3 meals for 2, as well as some chicken stock that I can use. If you like this video, why not check out my midweek meals playlist or how to make blackberry vodka. Thanks for watching, and if you really liked it, consider subscribing.